Good morning, everybody. Uh, my name is Dokai. I think most of you probably know that. And I'm the guiding teacher at Hokyoji. And today we have a guest speaker, Paul Shippee. And I'm pronouncing your name correctly, Paul?
Shippee.
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 Shippee. Okay. All
Hey,
right.
can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Is it okay for me to record? I'm
We
supposed
are
to-
recording. You are recording. Is that okay with you?
That's okay with me, but I wanted to have a copy of it.
Sure. We'll get that to you. I won't get it to you, but someone who knows something more than me will get it.
So they told me I have to ask permission to record myself. And can you give that permission or?
Yeah, can you just give it to me right now? And it's being recorded, so we'll does that work?
Please ask the host to give you permission to record. Okay, and
We are recording. We are recording right now.
okay, but I'm not recording on my side, but I'm supposed to ask permission to do that, but that's okay. I don't want to get hung on that.
Yeah, okay. Like it's gonna take another year or two for me to get my certificate in Zoom
Yeah,
operate.
I understand. Well,
Okay.
I'll ask,
But I think we're I mean, I'm sure we're recording because I got a little thing up there. So somehow or another, we can get the recording to you. I'm sure
oh,
about
great.
I can help. I can help you with that, Dokai, because I
Okay.
know a way to send large files like this.
Okay.
Thank you.
That's good because I know nothing about that. So
So we'll deal with that later.
okay, that's fine. So now I'm going to introduce you, Paul. I first off want to thank you so much for being here and speaking to us. And Paul's got a master's degree in psychology. He's been teaching nonviolent communication for many, many years, 14 or so. And he trained with nonviolent communication founder Marshall Rosenberg. And he studied with Native American and yoga teachers. And he's been a lifelong Buddhist meditator. And he's discovered a striking link between Buddhist practice of meditation and the nonviolent communication practice of how to uncover and give voice to our feelings and needs. Paul's main focus and purpose in presenting this is to help others awaken to their true nature, reduce suffering, and enjoy relational depth, richness, and sanity. How about that? Okay, Paul, we're looking forward to hearing what you have to say. The title of his talk is How Does It Feel?
You said enjoy relational depth. That's kind of key to what I'm going to talk about today.
Okay.
Combining nonviolent communication with Buddhist meditation, mindfulness, and awareness. They go together like hand in glove. For me, how do I know this? I didn't hear, how do you say your name? Kikon? Kikon. In my introduction, in my introduction, I didn't hear about my Buddhist background, but I studied for 4 years with Suzuki Roshi in San Francisco at the Zen Center. How many people have been there? Raise your hand. San Francisco Zen Center. I studied with Suzuki Roshi for 4 years before he died. And the last 2 years of that I spent at Tassajara, going through 4 consecutive training periods. How many people have been in a training period at Tassajara? Raise your hand. No one. I guess I'm alone with that. So that's fine. Let's see. And then after Suzuki Roshi died in 1971, I moved over to become a student of the Tibetan Buddhist teacher Chogyam Trungpa Rinpoche, and I've been with him and various other Tibetans ever since. But I never forgot my Zen training, and it's very important to me. And it's in my heart, it's in my body, it's in my meditation. And I look into. I'm a close friend of David Chadwick and Peter Coyote, and so let me. I wanted to complete my introduction there for a little bit. Let me get to know you. Um, I did a period of meditation this morning, and I see that when we open this, you were meditating. So I'd like to ask you to introduce yourself, and we'll go around briefly. So could you state your name? And I'm very interested in what your familiarity is with nonviolent communication. Have you heard of it? Have you practiced it? Have you studied it? Have you read the book? Or have you not ever heard of it even? Or heard of it and wondered what it was, what it is? So quickly, if we could go around popcorn style, just speak up. Whoever wants to start, please go ahead. Your name and your familiarity with what we call NVC, nonviolent communication. Who'd like to go first? Yes.
Hi, so I'm Ki Khan, and I'm a priest in training at Clouds and Water Zen Center, where I've been running the youth practice program. And we've been just listening to or been watching a YouTube video of a Marshall Rosenberg seminar or something from, I think, San Francisco, like some time ago, and learning a lot from that and finding it very interesting. I personally am interested in Buddhist psychology and the kind of relation between emotion and Buddhist psychology and Zen practice, and I see a lot of connections there between that and NVC potentially, which is why we're particularly interested in your talk. And with that, I'll shut up. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Okay, well, yeah. So my name's Trina, and I came across NVC in my mid 20s, my late 20s, which is forever ago, and I loved it. I loved the thinking about like really looking for what the needs and the feelings were, what the request is. And I hit some barriers in my ability to live it when I think my emphasis was on feeling frustrated that other people were not getting it and going there with me. So it's kind of like, I think I transitioned more to it being more of an internal practice of noticing what my own feelings and needs were. I think I kind of got away from that. But like recently, we've had Kikan and I have had an interest in reviving the awareness of that and diving in deeper.
Well, that's a wonderful path. I heard what you said about getting frustrated with trying to do it with others, and then just drawing back and doing it within yourself. That's a very good way to learn NVC, with others and within yourself. It's like a dance. Mm-hmm. Who's next, please? Thank you very much.
I'm Will Holcomb. I'm with Heartland Zen in St. Louis, and one of our participants, Elizabeth Tucker, was particularly interested in nonviolent communication and gave a talk on it a while back. She had studied it in various workshops, and so that got me interested. And I looked at the YouTubes with the puppets. I love those, and I I'm sort of a lifelong fumbler with communication, so I'm still learning and interested. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you very much. Next. Go ahead. Somebody just pop up. Raise your hand, please. Go ahead.
My name's Mary Wittenberg, and The only experience that I've had really with nonviolent communication is as a nurse working in the hospital, learning practical techniques on diffusing anger with patients in a room. So I learned some techniques there and helped me through the years.
That's great that doing it in a hospital. Good to hear that. Anyone else?
I'm Paul Winberg. I've never heard of it.
Never heard of it, Paul Winder. Okay, thank you very much. Someone else, please. Just hello, hi.
Hi, I'm Erin, and I've heard of it and am intrigued, but I don't really know anything about it. So I'm interested to learn more.
Well, great. I'll speak to you today. Next, please. Yes, sir.
My name's Jan. I know I've heard of it because people at Clouds have mentioned it, and that's about my extent of my background with it.
Okay, thank you very much. It's good to hear that it might be leaking into Zen communities. I like that. Next, someone else, please. Don't be shy. Raise your hand, please. Hello, go ahead.
Hi, I'm Carol Corey. I'm with Will. We founded the Heartland Zen Center in St. Louis. And I've certainly heard of it here and there, but have never really delved into it. So I'm interested today.
Okay, thank you very much. I can't see your name until you press the video and start to talk, so I can't call you by name. But anyway, whoever raised the hand, go ahead. Someone else who has not spoken yet, go ahead.
My name is Roger Watts. I'm a psychologist and a teacher in the Twin Cities, and have been a practitioner of counseling for a number of years, and work with people who have struggled with receiving and giving difficult communications, and looked into this a little bit quite a while ago, but not recently. So I'm interested in learning more. Thank you.
Okay, I think we've heard from everybody. So without further ado, yes, sir. Oh, right. Sorry.
Yeah, no, I'm very aware of nonviolent communication. I actually have a book. I've read most of it, and I have a good friend at Clouds and Water who really studied it deeply. His name is Ken Ford, and so I have become acquainted with its principles, and I find them, as you have, very aligned with our Buddhist practice and just how do we speak to each other in terms of sound speech. So I look forward to what you have to say. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. How they're aligned, just briefly, to start with, very simple. They're aligned with Zen and Buddhist practice, philosophy, and aspirations because they both have a strong drive, we'll call it a drive, a concern, a care to reduce and relieve suffering. It's not any more complicated than that. Reducing suffering. And in my 14 years of teaching nonviolent communication, I have found that to be more than true. And NVC is a very powerful means for connecting with other people in relationship in a brilliant, smart, bright, and connecting way. And as far as the book goes, I would recommend, if you're interested, to please get the book and start reading about NVC. That's one way you could start. And also, like somebody mentioned, there are videos of Marshall Rosenberg, who's the founder of Nonviolent Communication, an excellent teacher and educator, and he spent his entire life compiling this book by traveling the world, dealing with conflicts and war zones and African tribes killing each other and Israelis and Palestinians fighting and hating each other. And he's been all around in America mediating between gangs in St. Louis, for example. The two gangs would be, the Dark Angels and the St. Louis Police Department. He would be negotiating between them because they were killing each other, literally. So, and also, I'm just now finishing up next Tuesday a 6-month course that I put together, a live and Zoom class. I've been teaching it live up until last year, and when the COVID hit, I learned how to do Zoom. So for the last 6 months, I've been doing that. And so you can learn a lot about NVC also by going to my website, paulshippee.com, and finding articles I wrote. And I'm also going to start another Zoom class, 12 sessions, following the chapters in the book, in a month or two, sometime in mid-October, I think it is. So if you're interested, you could look up paulshippee.com and browse around there as a background for what I'm going to say today. The title of my talk is, How Does It Feel? And that might sound strange, talk to give to a Zen group, a Zen meditation group, but it's taken from a Bob Dylan song. You probably have heard it. It's the most popular rock and roll song in the 20th century. And there's a line in there, how does it feel to be on your own, like a rolling stone? So how does it feel is meant to indicate that NVC has to do, at least in part, with identifying and expressing feelings, literal, real feelings. And such as can be illustrated by, usually if people don't really connect with what feelings are. I mean, we live in a culture that's basically numb to feelings. When I grew up in Connecticut, feelings were not on our family table or in our house. We didn't talk about feelings. And I find that I'm not the only one. So we weren't educated about feelings. So here comes Marshall Rosenberg, who's going to educate us about feelings. In addition to that, I was in Zen for 4 years and nobody talked about feelings. I never heard anybody talk about feelings, and people were difficult to express themselves feeling-wise. So you might say it was all in the head. Feeling means to drop into your body and down into your heart. Some people would say, put your mind in your heart. Other people would say, some Tibetan teachers might say, awaken the mind, awaken your mind, soften your heart, as their principle for teaching Buddhism. So NVC fits right into that. And to me, they're like the left hand and the right hand of a common item. That is to say, NVC and Buddhism. See, Buddhism is coming into America. And whenever Buddhism comes into a country, apart from India, where it started, it has to kind of like communicate with the qualities of that culture and the neuroses of that culture. And those neuroses of the culture must reach up and connect with Buddhism, almost like it's a flying saucer that has all these wonderful teachings on how to liberate yourself. But if you don't deal with your own neurosis and hand that over and open up with it, NVC is about opening up. And Buddhism is, the way I always learned it from my Tibetan teachers, is about opening up to your neurosis, your faults, your problems, your pain, your suffering. And Buddha's first teaching was about suffering. So we're on board here with that. So identifying and expressing our feelings, I was just checking the time. We're 20 minutes into it now. Identifying and expressing our feelings and then connecting that with our needs, our universal needs that everyone has, starting with food, air, water, shelter, and going into nurturance, physical nurturance, listening to each other, being heard, um, needs. We have a whole needs inventory on the NVC website. We have lists of needs so that when we get stuck and we don't know what need we're trying to connect with, such as, is it a need for honesty? Is it a need for meaning? Is it a need for autonomy? Is it a need for physical well-being? Is it a need for connection? We also have lists of feelings when needs are met and feelings when needs are not met. So all of those can be found on the International Nonviolent Communication website, which the link for that is cnvc.org. C as in center, NVC for nonviolent communication. So cnvc.org. If you go there, you'll find under the trainings tab the list of feelings and needs. If you're interested in getting the book and studying on your own, that would be a great way to start. So NVC is a method of communication, and its aim is to make you a better communicator, obviously. And there are tools to do that. I'm not going to get in today. We don't have enough time to get into the technical aspects of what the tools are and what they mean and how to navigate them. I'll leave that up to you reading the book and listening to Marshall. But I do want to cover some essential points, especially today. I want to connect, continue to focus on connecting nonviolent communication with meditation and those two practices, how they go together. So I want to ask, what is nonviolent communication about? Actually, it's a method of communication, but as I said before, it's sharing with Buddhism the ideal or the result of reducing suffering in beings, not only ourselves, but others as well. And so we learn how to do this with combining meditation, two best tools on the planet, as far as I'm concerned, Buddhist meditation and nonviolent communication. Nonviolent communication focusing on the emotional level that is largely ignored and even dismissed and put down as a kind of like a nasty obstacle by some Buddhists who come from cultures where they, even worse than us, are not only not talk about feelings, not only not trained in feelings, but actually have a phobia about feelings. There are cultures, Asian cultures, that feelings are not on the table really either. So there's a lot of learning here as Buddhism comes into the West, and we plant the Buddha Dharma in North America and the West in general. We have to integrate a really sophisticated working relationship with feelings and needs, because we ourselves have to clean ourselves out, so to speak. So what NVC is about, first, it's about relating. Everything is related. Everything you do is relating, whether it's talking to a mouse or praying to God or talking within your community, dealing with conflicts in your community between yourself and your spouse or at work. There's all kinds of relating is universal. So relationships, especially interpersonal relationships, and the relationship with yourself, like, I forgot your name, but the person who said they learned to do NVC within themselves because they found it difficult to do it with others who aren't aware of how to do it. That's not a problem once you learn NVC, but if you're starting out, it can be very, I don't know, you feel like you're being harassed or something. So the second aspect is about mindfulness and awareness. But not just mindfulness and awareness, those are two words that sort of like exist up in the sky. Mindfulness and awareness of what? The beauty of NVC is that it teaches you what mindfulness and awareness can be about, at least in how to apply it to what? To feelings and needs in yourself, and the ability to see the feelings and needs in each moment, not only in yourself, but in others, and be able to read, no matter what someone is saying, read behind what they're saying and develop the intuition to be able to see what feelings and needs they are having when they're speaking, even if they're attacking you or insulting you. They still have feelings and needs. Marshall Rosenberg is insistent about the idea that all behavior is a result of trying to meet a need. And so when he connects that with the fact that all anger, depression, shame, and guilt are the result of unmet needs, you get into a psychology that is much less complicated than the academic psychology. If you can reach and get this into your system about getting in touch with the feelings and needs are going on with you, and be able to read the feelings and needs behind what others are saying, no matter what they're saying, you will find a certain kind of brilliance in your life, and it's called connection. So NVC is about a quality of connection. We can say also that the actual purpose of NVC is about creating a quality of connection by using the tools of nonviolent communication. I'm not going to talk about the tools because you can read them. Other things, I want to use the time today to paint a more of a broad picture. So the third thing is, as I just said, is the purpose of NVC is to create a quality of connection. Now, maybe you already feel fulfilled and cherished in your relationships, in all your relationships. Raise your hand if you do. Feel fulfilled and cherished in all your relationships. Raise your hand if you do. I don't see any hands being raised. Which reminds me of when I was at Tassajara one time, the group was asked by Suzuki Roshi, why are you meditating? Why are you here? And most people, including myself, would use this word dissatisfaction as a means to describe what brings them to meditation. You might locate that in yourself as well. But nobody raised their hand when I asked them, are you already fulfilled and cherished in relationship? If you master NVC, I would bet all of you would raise your hand. That's what I would bet. So the practice of NVC, to go a little deeper, and it is a practice. It's not something you think about or you study. That's like learning how to play the violin or learning an academic discipline like even psychology. That's not how you approach NVC. NVC is a practice, and the tools you learn and the views and the attitudes and the insights that you pick up and you learn, those are meant to be put into practice so that we learn that what's alive in people is feelings and needs. We begin to see that. I'm not saying that's the only thing that's alive in people, but what's alive in people, if we can bring that up to the surface more, the feelings and needs that are alive in people, how wonderful life would be. It would be a lot easier and more pleasant to go through each day. There'll be less suffering. There'll be more understanding of others. Like, I'm looking at a book here. One teacher says a powerful practice, which is what this is, for discovering happiness is by shifting the focus from yourself to others. Isn't that a basic Buddhist view of practice? My teacher, Chogyam Trungpa Rinpoche, used to say a lot, other people are more important than you are, which is trying to encourage you to spread your compassion out from yourself and your close people, if you have that there, spread it out to people that you don't know, and then spread your compassion, offer your compassion, give your compassion to to your enemies, also so-called enemies, people that you don't like, people that are maybe that have harmed you. So that's those all the Buddhist etiquette and the Buddhist ethics about widening and expanding your mind to include others. And so NVC has the same practice to train your mind to open up so that you're not self-cherishing all the time, that you can cherish others more than yourself and see how that feels. That's what brings happiness. It doesn't sound in a Western context like it's true, but it is true. It's a deep truth of Buddhism. So to create a quality of connection with yourself is not easy. It doesn't happen overnight. Sometimes it takes years of practice to create a quality of connection. Is sort of like the diamond quality of relationship. To connect with yourself and connect with others. It just makes you feel alive, and you don't have to cling to it either. You can let it go. It's just something that sort of flashes, and a flash of lightning in a dark sky, you might say. So what Marshall Rosenberg has called or tries to describe nonviolent communication when he gives a public talk. I trained with Marshall in the early days in 2006. I wasn't in the early days. I was sort of in the midterm at a 9-day intensive in Albuquerque, a live-in intensive training with people from all over the world. Actually came to Albuquerque and he would be putting this on every year. And so he would start a public talk, for example, even by saying that MVC is about a change of consciousness. I puzzled with that and struggled with that for many, many years to try to really understand what it means, a change of consciousness. And what I have come to now, in terms of understanding what he means by NVC is the change of consciousness in order to succeed in practicing it. It's about a transformation of identity. I think that's what he was getting at, transformation of identity. In other words, to become a better meditator, you have to search inside yourself to find out where your hangups are and what's blocking you. And if you can identify feelings and needs, as Marshall said, every blockage that you have, whether it's anger, depression, shame, guilt, anything that's sort of you feel is hanging you up. Marshall is a clinical psychologist, and he was trained at University of Wisconsin. And fortunately, in his last year of study, he was so fortunate to be able to study with Carl Rogers, the founder of one of the founders of humanistic psychology. And what Carl Rogers taught him was that diagnosis of patients, so-called patients, diagnosis is not going to help anybody except a psychiatrist. Diagnosis must be replaced by listening. You just listen to people. And I'm still learning how to do that because I have this teacher's dilemma where I want to help people and teach them. But I have to constantly remind myself that when people are working with me with NVC, I have to just what's the most helpful thing that Marshall has learned from Carl Rogers is that the most helpful thing is to listen. And then maybe indicate that you've heard the person by repeating back what they said. As simple as that. That's what Carl Rogers and Marshall Rosenberg both thought was the best way to treat people who are in distress of one kind or another. So where this leads to is that searching inside yourself, what we find is that we all carry emotional wounds and beliefs about reality, primitive beliefs about reality maybe, from childhood, from childhood encounters with wounded parents. I think we all are beginning to recognize that almost universally now, hopefully. Um, and this results in various dysfunctional behavior in relationships. For example, Gabor Mate, who's a medical doctor, I would encourage you to find him on YouTube and study if you're interested in what I'm saying here, what I'm talking about searching inside yourself and finding how to work with and manage the wounds that you received by not being able to express yourself totally freely as a child. He said, what was a survival behavior in childhood? A survival behavior meaning that you're depending on your parents for food and shelter, and you're not going to, if they don't want you to get angry, you don't get angry because you'll feel like you might be kicked out in the snow or lose their love or whatever their conditional love was. So he says, what was a survival behavior in childhood becomes an illness in adulthood. That's what we need to uncover in terms of searching inside yourself, is how what you protected yourself with in childhood then becomes an illness in adulthood, and it blocks our having successful and brilliant and connecting relationships with ourselves and others. It's a long process, it's a lifelong job. And if you got into Zen Buddhism for a lifelong commitment to meditate, if you would go hand in hand with NVC, you would, as I said before, those are the two best tools on the planet that I have ever come across in my whole life. So it is my experience, personal experience, that these wounds and these emotional wounds and these blockages and these obstacles and these hangups and these neuroses that we have cannot be healed only by sitting on a cushion. It doesn't work. You might just, some of you might be shocked to hear that, and some of you might agree with me. But it's my experience that emotional wounds cannot be touched or seen by sitting on a cushion alone. There are other things that you need. Some people go into psychotherapy, and some people go into NVC to learn how to free themselves. So, and how do I know this? Because I have decades of experience in Buddhist sanghas, different ones, and I have taught Buddhist sanghas nonviolent communication. And what I have noticed is the dysfunctional relationship behavior of Buddhist people is not any different than in the main society. We all come from the main society and are part of it. But in the main society, there is not a facility of understanding and recognizing feelings. And more seriously, there is a deep lack of literacy of needs. The culture is illiterate when it comes to identifying needs. That's tragic. That is really unnecessarily tragic. So practicing NVC teaches you how to get in touch with, to express and identify feelings and connect them up with unmet needs if it's a difficult or so-called negative feeling, such as some Buddhists, including the Dalai Lama, by the way, he calls emotions afflictive. And let me get a little bit into that a little bit further on. So emotions must not be dismissed or brushed off. We need to lean into them. And what I have learned is the proper, may I use the word proper? The most adequate way of relating to emotions is to lean into them. First of all, lean into the sharp points of difficult emotions, not run away from them, but lean into them. Get curious about them if you can handle the distress or the pain of it. And then NVC teaches you how to mine the emotions for information. Emotions contain information. They're just basically energy that's part of our nervous system and our conditioning, and they contain a lot of information. So when you are angry or depressed, you could ask yourself, search inside yourself and ask yourself, what is the unmet need behind my distress? It's that NVC is that simple. But because we live in a society that's illiterate about needs, and we are too, because we grew up in that society. That's not because we're Buddhist. I'm not blaming anything to do with Buddhists. It's the whole society that's like this, including us. So when we feel our dissatisfaction, we want to get into meditation to find some spaciousness in our mind, which we never had before. That's wonderful. But then to combine that with when we have emotions that are difficult, to be able to see them as information and then ask what the information is by asking, what is the unmet need here? And then if you're a beginner and you want to, we have these lists. You can see a whole list of unmet needs that you can scan through. I teach this in the live workshops. Scan through and find out which kind of unmet need resonates with you. You're starting to get into intuitive work here, very intuitive work. You have left your rational mind here as being the only authority, and dropped down into your heart area and feel things. Feel your body. You can do exercises of scanning your body like Goenka, the meditation teacher in Asia, taught. Scan your body for sensations and feelings, and make friends with your body and your heart, so that the dominant mode of being in America is not being, it's having. And we have to try to get the thing going, which we learn in meditation, is the idea of being, the experience of being. So NVC, in this sense, is a practice, and it's a deep learning about the nature of mind, the nature of emotions, the nature of conflict, the nature of embarrassment, the nature of getting angry and attacking people, and the nature of withdrawing because we can't handle it, instead of finding some middle ground of how to navigate a relationship so that both sides get their needs met. There's a slogan we have in NVC. It's called "Everyone's needs matter." So one of the things that we do when we get into the spiritual path was identified by my late friend John Wellwood, who was a psychologist and coined the word in the early 80s, spiritual bypassing. How many people have heard of that term, spiritual bypassing? Raise your hand. Let me see. Everybody. Well, almost everybody. What that is a reaction whereby difficult feelings are viewed as, in a spiritual context, as inconvenient and improper, even to my goal of in my goal of meditation and path toward enlightenment. It's a sort of bypassing the emotions and put them over there as if they're going to go away, and change your focus over to enjoying the idea of liberation and meditation and all the nice attributes and values of the spiritual life, and not wanting to go into the kitchen sink level and be in the now and deal with the feelings and relate them to the needs. So NVC invites us to embrace what I'm going to call the wisdom of emotions. To look at our emotions, they contain information, but if you handle them properly, they also have a trove of wisdom that can bring you into closer to liberation when you clean up your inside. And so the message, what I mentioned about the information that's in emotions, it has to do with the message is like it's a red flag. Like if you get angry, like automatically angry at something, even if it's when you spill the milk, or if your partner does something you don't like, if you snap at people, if you have these behaviors, the emotion, or if you're depressed and you're sad and you don't know how to get out of it and you don't feel like doing anything, those two poles of emotional territory are can be considered a red flag that will teach you that you have more work to do in order to open up and wake up. So see sensation, but also as a red flag that help you become aware that you have more work to do. And we're not going to get into today what the work is with the technical part of tools, but it's combining meditation and awareness of NVC would be excellent place to start. So NVC trains us to transform our identity and change our consciousness. So we move. One of the principles I like to use is we move from what's called reactions, and we transform reactions into responses. So a reaction is an unconscious, habitual pattern, knee-jerk automatic reaction that we conditioned from childhood, where we have this same old reaction. We judge people. We walk down the street and we say that person's dress is stupid, and this person's pants are too long, and this basic car that someone is driving, it's way too fancy. I don't know why we need those kind of cars. Constantly judging is a problem that's a little bit more subtle than just anger or depression and anxiety, the three main emotions that people seem to express. So for example, I personally used to get angry a lot. I used to get hurt and depressed and not know why. I'm talking about behaviors that we need to clean up. Okay, these are from me, my personal experience throughout in my life. I used to harbor toxic shame and didn't even know it, but it was affecting my behaviors and my reactions. And I could not, in that frame of mind, put forth a conscious response. I was tied into automatic reactions. I also would throw around negative comments around without thinking and without having awareness of others, how it affected others. Certain negative comments based on judging the world, judging this is wrong, that's wrong. In other words, we have this really nasty behavior inside of us, which a lot of us don't even know about. I call it make wrong behavior, where you're making other people wrong. And that is a behavior. I don't know if this is connecting with you, but that behavior of making others wrong is usually produced because we in our insecurity need to be right. We want to feel that we're right. So we argue and conflict goes on and it doesn't go nowhere because we have this mindset of making others wrong. And we need to uncover this in ourselves of how we do this, of how the little tiny ways that we make others wrong, either by judging, like I said before, inconsequential details, like what people are wearing, or what color is their skin. This feeds into racism. I mean, it's a deep, deep subject in a lot of ways, but judgment and making people wrong so we can feel protected and better is a total poison in our culture. And we need to clean ourselves up, search inside of ourselves, and find out the root of that. What's the root of judging and making people wrong? So that make wrong behavior needs to be cleaned up, I would say. All of this stuff in our leaders, in our spiritual leaders, our teachers, our Zen teachers, our Asian teachers, all of this stuff has led to arrogance, and many sanghas have, as you know, imploded because of untended unconscious behavior on the part of the teachers. For example, I'll just name some names: Dick Baker, Reggie Ray, Sogyal Rinpoche, and the Shambhala leader Sakya Rinpoche have all high flyers with many loyal and unquestioning followers that were taken down. Taken down literally, I mean, put out of business. The Sangha's disgraced and abandoned. And if I'm not mistaken, Katagiri Roshi was also part of this. And by the way, Katagiri Roshi was, when he was called Katagiri Sensei, Suzuki Roshi's first lieutenant, is the one who taught me meditation, was my first meditation teacher. Anyway, these people could not walk their talk, and their sanghas disintegrated. And a lot of people lost faith in Buddhism, lost faith in meditation, lost faith in the teachings, just because these people have not cleaned up their act in their own personal life. They couldn't walk their talk, is how we sometimes say it. So we have to be very careful with the poisons that are driving our reactive behavior, because it interferes with planting our vision of planting Buddha Dharma in North America. If we want Buddhism to survive in America for future generations, we have to clean up ourselves. And NVC is a very, very powerful way to do that, in my experience. I have seen it myself and others. So what's the main practice of NVC? In order to bring about and create a quality of connection with oneself and others, the main practice in NVC is empathy. Self-empathy and empathy for others, or being able to practice empathy. It's actually a practice, and it's taught in the book by Marshall, and I teach it and practice it as much as I can myself. It's not easy to learn, but it's like a specific application of compassion. Empathy is about being present with others in the presence of their pain. So empathy is practiced by having or practicing presence, being present and just listening to people, like I said before. So I think we're just about ending this. If we can combine the spaciousness of meditation with the precise mindfulness about feelings and needs of NVC, we can transform our faults and reliably create happy, healthy relationships in ourselves and others. It's not easy, but it's worth doing. Now we have some minutes, a few minutes. I'm going to end it there. We can take a few questions or discussion if you have such. I've covered a lot of ground here today, and there's way more to go, but I want to see how you've taken what I've said today. If you want to ask a question or make a comment, that would be great. I see a question with Will.
Yeah, I wonder, I know you can't, time does not permit, giving a complete workshop on how to do, but I'm wondering if nonviolent communication, in addition to being more aware of feelings, and feelings, I guess we're using the term, really emotions is perhaps another word that, because in Buddhism, feelings you get mixed up with pleasant, non-pleasant, neutral, and you're talking more about what might be termed emotions. But in addition to being more aware of them, teaching a vocabulary, learning a vocabulary of emotions and needs, so that you can analyze more clearly what's going on. Is that
Yes.
part of what you're talking about?
Yes, and the beginning point, what I always use for the beginning point to identify what emotions are, is these four: glad, mad, sad, scared. If you start with those four emotions, glad? Am I feeling glad? Am I feeling mad? It's almost like pleasant or neutral or unpleasant. Glad, mad, sad, scared. Those four will open the door toward what emotions are, and then from there you can read the lists that are published on the website and see a whole list of feelings when needs are met and when needs are not met. Different feelings. So to get a vocabulary of feelings, like you're saying, is very important. So that we can not only have the analytical part, but also the intuitive part in the body, which rationality does not address that. We can analyze after we and connect that up with the intuition of what the feelings are and the needs are, and they go together. So it's not like eliminating rationality in favor of intuition. No. Someone else? Does that answer your question there? A little bit? Okay. We have time for one more, a couple more.
Hello. I have a question. So thoughts to me are rational and feelings are irrational. Not crazy, but just not rational. And one of the struggles, I'm wondering if you could suggest one or two ways to help a person penetrate the knee-jerk reaction I think Americans have to think our way through emotions that are powerful of the kind you suggested. What would you suggest might be one or two of these nonviolent communication processes that might help with getting us closer to being irrational about our approach to these really dramatic problems?
I would say non-rational, or I don't know, but anyway, Roger, I will answer that by asking you a question. What are you feeling right now?
I'm feeling grateful. And
Grateful. Okay.
Right.
Don't need a story. Just the naked feeling. I'd like to go around. In order to help answer your question, Roger, I want to go around and ask everyone, what are you feeling right now? And I can't see your name, so I can't call on you. But if you'd have enough courage, if you have courage, and you're willing to be vulnerable, vulnerability is a key part of working with NVC. So Roger, I would say you'd have to teach people that vulnerability is okay. And vulnerability, according to Brene Brown, the social science researcher who researched about shame, says that vulnerability is made of risk, uncertainty, and fear. So when you have those, when you're going to be vulnerable, you're going to feel those. You're going to feel a little bit shaky, uncertainty. There's going to be risk, and it's going to be emotional exposure. So we have to teach people not to be afraid of emotional exposure. People are terrified of it. I noticed that feelings are considered private in our culture. It's almost like genitals are private. So people think feelings are private. It's terrible. We need to get over that, and we need to. So, a few other people? I'd like to hear what you're feeling in one word right now. Please jump in and help us move along here.
Fear and also determination.
You feel fear and also determination. Okay, got it. Someone else?
I feel encouraged and intrigued.
Encouraged and intrigued. Great. Someone else?
I feel kind of excited.
Excited. Okay, we're all helping Roger with his question. So someone else, please. Who's feeling? Yes.
Anxious.
She's feeling anxious. There's no wrong feelings, by the way. All feelings are good. Someone else, please. Yes, sir.
They're confused about feelings.
You were muted.
Oh, I'm feeling curious and mildly irritated.
And mild what?
Irritated.
Curious and mildly irritated. Wonderful. Thank you so much. Someone else? As long as you can say these feelings without judgment. And if there is judgment in the feeling, your job is to uncover that judgment and let the feeling be naked and without judgment. But if it is judgment, please notice it. It's not wrong to have judgment. It's just we want to be aware of it. How about someone else who has not jumped in here with a feeling, please?
I would echo irritated.
You feel irritated. Okay, good. I'm not going to get into why or the story. It doesn't matter. For right now, we're helping Roger deal with his patients by asking them, what are you feeling right now? It's important to be in the moment. The famous Zen, the famous Zen flag, be here now. You know, the nowness is the quality we're looking here for, not only for meditation, but also for emotions. What's going on now in your body? Like for me, I'm feeling excited and connected. Someone else, one more person before we end. Take a stab at it if you don't, even if you're not sure.
Confused.
Confused. All right. So all of these feelings are amazingly wonderful to me. They express vulnerability and uncertainty and emotional exposure. So I'm going to close here with, I'm going to do a little closing, dedicate the merit, and hopefully you can join with that. And I love meeting you all, and I love talking with you, and I love hearing what you're feeling. And so thanks, Roger, for that question. By this merit, may all attain omniscience. May it defeat the enemy wrongdoing. From the stormy waves of birth, old age, sickness, and death. From the ocean of samsara, may I free all beings, including myself. Okay. I'm so honored to be with you all. And you want to continue this, paulshippee.com. I'm starting a full workshop in nonviolent communication and Buddhist meditation on October. I think it's going to start October 12th. So if you want to have a workshop, you go there, or you can go there and check it out and see if we can explore heart to heart our wonderful, situation of human beings suffering and wanting to be free. So we're walking that path. It's the only game in life, as far as I'm concerned. So if you're confused, you can send me an email and we can talk a little further. I'm open to that. And if you're irritated and you want to share what that is about and have one exchange with me via email, Susan Ekio, is that her name? Susan Nelson. She has my email. So if you wish to reach out to me, I'm happy to be open to, a little bit of back and forth with you about if you're confused or if you want to share something. So we can end the meeting now. And thank you very much for showing up on this Sunday morning. It's made my day.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Bye, everybody.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.